Hey guys, I want to make a quick video on where we are 30 days before an election and 90 days before the end of the year. I'm just going to make this pretty short. I'm going to show a few charts. I'm going to talk about the Uptober effect, and I'm going to take a look at where we are on the power law. It's just sort of a recap. It'll only take 2 minutes. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is let's pull up the chart, and as we can see, kind of on a zoomed out view, we've done absolutely nothing for 6 months. While there's been all this excitement here, going up, going down, blah, blah, it's really nothing in the bigger picture scheme of things. With this huge move up, we've been chopping wood for 6 months, and really the next big move, up or down, has still yet to come. And there was reason to believe it's going to come relatively soon. So why do we think there's reason to believe it'll come soon? Well, it's the seasonality effect is actually pretty big. So let's take a look at the seasonality effect. Okay, and this is the crossover capital. Excellent source. We had the founder in here on Bitcoin Brain Trust earlier. But let's look at these numbers. They're pretty remarkable. We had 2 negative Octobers. We've had the last 5 Octobers have been good. The 2 Octobers in a presidential year cycle have been good. So we've just been having a very, very good month of October. I wouldn't bet against it. And if you look at these numbers a little bit more closely, you can kind of see these numbers are actually really good. 20% plus, 30% in 2021, 30% effectively last year. So could we move 20% in October? Yeah, I think we can. From 60,000, that'll get us over 70,000 in October. So I think 70K in October is definitely doable. Maybe even 80K, maybe even all-time high in October. Seems possible. So wouldn't bet against it. We had especially a exceptionally good September. In September was a bad seasonal month, and we had a very good September. The best one on record, actually. And in the other months where September was positive, as Beagle points out, October was great too. So here in 2016, September was good, October was good. In 2015, September is good, October is very good. And in 2023, September was good, October was great. So I think a lot of reasons to believe October is going to be very good. Now let's go to the power law. And this is just, there's not a power law. There's many interpretations of the power law. You can do it on block height. You can do it on a bunch of different ways, but it's all more or less the same. This is just my little cheat sheet. And the cheat sheet says that we should be at 73,000 already. So we're definitely under the trend line right now. And a year out, the 1 standard deviation is 211. 2 standard deviations, which we may very well get to, is almost 600,000. Do we think we're going to get there? I don't know. Giovanni thinks that there's as much chance of having a UFO visit you. I disagree. I think there's more chance of hitting 500,000 than a UFO hitting. But in any case, the next 90 days and then the next year after could be amazing for Bitcoin. Obviously, no guarantees, not financial advice, but I mean, this is looking pretty good. So yeah, that's my update as to kind of where we are. I also think JD Vance did great in the debate. I think nominally, if Harris wins, there might be an initial phase of, oh, I'm disappointed, I should sell Bitcoin. there's going to be more regulation on Bitcoin. I think that would be only very small, very nominal, and pretty soon the greater realization that money printing is going to continue will go on. And that'll be very good for Bitcoin. So I don't even think that realization is going to take more than a month. So even if Harris gets in, I think the month of November and December could be very good for Bitcoin. I think if Trump gets in, I think we have an immediate jump, because I think that means all crypto gets reevaluated. I think the SEC gets changed. I think the Elizabeth Warren choke point 2.0 plan gets thrown in the garbage. And I think we immediately jump to well above 100,000. I mean, very quickly. It wouldn't surprise me if we end the year up more like 140,000, 180,000, something like that. I mean, we could just have an exponential rise. And by the way, these bubbles, even though the power law is not exponential, these bubbles are exponential in nature. As Giovanni's pointed out, the exponential on the way up and on the way down. So you have these 1% a day kind of moves up and 1% a day down. So that's generally the way I feel. I'm not playing this thing day to day. I don't trade the market. I'm just long Bitcoin. Sometimes I buy a little bit more Bitcoin. I think it's a good time to buy Bitcoin right here. You're below the trend line. You've got a possible catalyst on the way up. So if you buy and Trump gets elected, which the poly market odds are now saying 50-50, then you've got a really good position. It's great to be really in the money in Bitcoin, because then you sort of care less. It drops 20%, you don't care. If you just bought, it drops 20%, you're hurting, So it's really good to get your foot in the door and to have a position that's like profitable and has a big margin of profit in it. So I think this election could be that. Now, if it doesn't work out the way you want it, you're just going to have to stick with it a little longer. But I don't think you're going to have to stick with it a whole cycle or anything. I think you may have to stick with it 6 months. So I think it's an excellent time to buy. I think Joe Carlosali is optimistic on the in-kind redemptions. That doesn't mean you will necessarily be able to in-kind both contributions and redemptions. Will that apply to you? I don't know. It certainly the legal environment is going to change very favorably to Bitcoin in the next year if Trump's elected. And if Trump's not elected, it's not the end of the world for Bitcoin. It might be the end of the world for the U.S. economy, but maybe not. But certainly not for Bitcoin. So I'm very, very. I think we're in a very good position. I don't think that this Uptober story is compromised here. And I'll let you go. That was just a little short update. And again, follow me on YouTube. Oh, and one thing is, if you're going to be in Southern California, if you can make it to Southern California in 2 weeks, Wayne Vaughn, a very old Bitcoin OG, and me are having, and Ben Sigmund, who's helping with the coordination of this event, and others, are having a very unique event, nonprofit event called Bitcoin First in Santa Monica. And it's going to be between probably 150 and 200 people there. And we are going to share information in sessions. There are not going to be any speakers. There are not going to be any sponsors. Everything is catered. So you'll get there. You'll have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you'll just be able to hang out and meet actual Bitcoiners and people you talk to on Spaces, and a lot of us will be there. So and we can kind of share our thoughts on. There's a lot of new topics that are coming up. For example, MSTR versus IBIT versus the leverage one. I forget the MSTX, so some trading strategies. Andrew Parrish from AP Abacus is going to be talking about some trading software that he's implementing with Gemini. So that should be really interesting. There's going to be some people on lending, which could be interesting. Unchained Capital will be there, their lending product. There's going to be Puncher is going to be there talking about El Salvador and the practicalities of like setting up a residence, whether it's your primary residence or just a secondary residence in El Salvador. How safe is it? How do you set up a bank account? All this stuff. So there's going to be some really interesting things. We're trying to finalize it. I need to spend more time on it. I've been sort of occupied with like things like furniture. We're going to organize all this stuff, and it's in a 5-star hotel, which is the Casa del Mar in Santa Monica, which is probably the best hotel in Southern California. Might be the best hotel in California. So it gives you an idea. It's just a beautiful hotel, and it's multiple floors. We're going to be on the sort of basement ground floor, and then the hotel is 1 floor up. So we have the opportunity to kind of just mingle, go upstairs if you want to have a private meeting with somebody. Just go up to the hotel lobby, have the meeting up there, come back down. You're also very close to the city of Santa Monica. We'll be doing a Bitcoin event. So if you want to go use your Lightning wallet and buy something in Santa Monica with your Lightning wallet, and talk to Dom, who's going to be organizing that, the city of Santa Monica. And this is really exciting. I kind of wish it was on 2 separate days, but it's not. And I encourage the city of Santa Monica to kind of become like a Bitcoin destination. So, I don't think this time around you're going to be able to buy your hotel in Bitcoin, but probably next time around, if we do this thing again, we'll you'll be able to kind of pay with Bitcoin. You can pay for your ticket in Bitcoin right now. So we got all that hooked up. Of course, Giovanni's going to be there, and that's going to be exciting. I'm going to be having at least one session on the power law. I'm trying very hard to put together a booklet on the power law, separate booklet that we're going to be giving out free, which is going to be the Power Law Reference Manual, which I'm really trying to put together with Cena 21st. Excellent Twitter handle. You should absolutely follow it. It's just very, very good analytics. And so, we're putting together this Power Law because Cena's got this great content. So I really want to just organize this content better and put it in this little booklet. So it's great stuff. And I think it'd be a great thing to kind of take back and read on the plane with you and look at all the charts and everything. So yeah. So what else do we have? So let's see, Giovanni discounts. Yeah, he has the cross-border capital. However, they're very much into the seasonality effect. So Alaska's doing great. Trump's going to win. I hope so. Trump's going to win. I don't know. I think it's 50-50. How does El Salvador collect taxes? I don't know. That's a good question to ask Puncher. I don't know. DCA, Bitcoin. I think you should, if you have money that you're going to invest, I would kind of invest it. I wouldn't sort of just trickle it out on DCA. I don't think that's a great idea because you might be trickling it out twice the price. I think we're kind of we're going to go higher in Bitcoin. So I don't think Iran, Israel tension. These have typically been good buying opportunities, right? And I have this one page in our book about, Saylor says, it doesn't say war is good for Bitcoin, but he says chaos is good for Bitcoin. So whenever there's chaos, it does end up being good for Bitcoin. Maybe not on the day of the chaos, but overall, it tends to be good for Bitcoin. So, yeah, I think that I was very, very impressed. I don't know about you guys, but I was very impressed with JD Vance. And I think he would make not only a good vice president, but a very good president. And I kind of wish he was running and not Trump, to be honest. But nevertheless, I think he's can do it. I'm going to probably do some spaces today, Lauren. And I can invite you now if you want, Lauren. If you want to jump in right now, we can do we'll do it later. We'll do audio spaces later. I'm not super familiar with the way all these things go. He proved he's not weird. Yeah. The only thing that people keep jumping in on JD Vance is the couch incident, which, I think it's perfectly normal that people make love to their couches, right? It's normal. Yeah, and he's a Bitcoiner, right? So JD Vance owns Bitcoin and has owned it for 4 years, right? And meanwhile, what's his name? Waltz not only does not own any Bitcoin, he doesn't own any stocks. He claims to own his own home, but the guy doesn't seem to have any assets, so I don't know. Like a guy like that possibly running the country is a little strange. Thoughts on BSV capability? Are you kidding me? I have no thoughts on BSV capability. What is, this is some BSV account. And advantage and the lawsuit over Satoshi Nakamoto's. No, I have no idea what this BSV person's even talking about. I don't know, BSV, Cardano DAO. It's like, guys, I wish you well, it's sad that you guys don't want to make more money. You guys have an aversion to making money. I get it. Some people don't like it. I personally like it. I like living in a nice house. I like driving a nice car. I like having a second home. I'm crazy that way. But if you don't like money, then absolutely BSV is a great choice. Cardano, fantastic choice. If you want to kind of be like the Da Vinci guy and just whip yourself in the back, BSV time waster. Next topic, please. Yeah, I agree with that. BTC is a hijacking of the project. No, I don't think BTC is a hijacking of the project. I don't. I've read the book, by the way. I read Roger's book, and he just feels like a bitter guy. He's bitter. Block size is not going to save you. And by the way, fees are low right now. Like, I moved some Bitcoin yesterday. Fees were like 70 cents. Like, what are you complaining about? Like, having these big empty blocks is not going to help right now. So I don't think BTC is a hijacking of anything. I think there's certain people they're really sore because, Roger had a massive amount of BTC. He would be up there with Michael Saylor, but he made the wrong choice. It's sort of like that meme of the guy that was like this, and then the young guy goes, "What happened to him?" He goes, "He held ETH instead of BTC. This is a little bit like Indiana Jones with the Temple of Doom. You have to choose the chalice, and if you choose the wrong one, you just turn into dust. And you choose the right one, you get eternal life. So you shouldn't screw around picking these wrong chalices. You definitely want the right one. Explaining Bitcoin is an uncorrelated asset. Yeah, well, that's a really good point. So, by the way, correlation is not one way. It's the correlation. So Lynn Alden, there's a lot of people, really interesting non-mathematical people. Safety is one of them. And Cena had this great post today, which I retweeted. And it said, this post is just absolutely amazing. Let me just find this post. So Safety said, this is literally what he said. And he said this in the Bitcoin Standard, and then he puts it out in his profile too. He goes, one standard deviation band is around 40,000 wide. The odds of the price being there randomly on a given day is 40,000 over 100 million, or 0.04%. Now, that's just insane. Like, the fact that he would say that is insane. So where's he get this 100 million number? Where's he get this 0.40,000 over? Like, zero understanding of what even the word standard deviation means. And then he goes, the odds of it being in that band randomly for 800 days in a row are that number raised to the 800 power? Absolutely not. These are correlated events. Like, if you're here, the chances of you being here tomorrow are pretty high, actually. So you don't multiply those low probabilities. So this is a number that, like, I have a 17-year-old. If he came out with this probability, I would be upset. I mean, I probably knew this when I was 13, this number, but the fact that this guy wrote this in the Bitcoin Standard is pretty bad. And similarly, what's her name? Lynn Alden was talking about directional correlation. So directional correlation. Now, next level intellect, perhaps, but stick out. You can't use these economic arguments when talking about math. You can't. I mean, I'm sorry, it just doesn't work. You're just going to go wrong. So I think as much as I liked Lynn's book, I like part of Lynn's book. I think the historical stuff is pretty good. You just can't fudge math, and I think it's really problematic when you fudge math. Okay, more BSV things. We're going to pass on those. Coinbase. I don't know. I don't use Coinbase AA, but I mean, I've used it. I have an account, but I don't actively use Coinbase. And as far as this 12-hour window stuff, I think this stuff is tinfoil hat stuff. I mean, BlackRock has all the BTC. They give Coinbase a window. Now, do I think Coinbase, for like their base product and their what's it called, CBBTC, is 100% backed? I wouldn't trust that thing. I gotta tell you, I would not. Probably okay, but the fact that they don't have any proof of reserves or anything is just disturbing. So I wouldn't use Coinbase. There's better things to use, and of course, you should always self-custody, right? So, BlackRock's relation with Coinbase is not the same as your relation with Coinbase. They have dedicated addresses that are there. they're running their own nodes that they can verify that the Bitcoin in those dedicated addresses is actual Bitcoin. They're not just relying on some accountant once a quarter to verify the reserves. They're verifying those reserves in real time. So you don't have those dedicated addresses in Coinbase. You can't see where your Bitcoin is when you put it in. So not your keys. You can't see the Bitcoin. I'm out. I wouldn't be involved. Yeah. So why do we discuss crypto and tax together? Crypto is supposed to be an exit. Yeah, supposed to, but you owe the taxes. And if you're living in the U.S., you owe the taxes. Now, I think some people may exit the U.S. They may just say, you know what, I am going to leave the U.S. I'm going to pay my exit tax, and I'm just I'll bite the bullet and I'll go live in whatever country doesn't tax me. And there are a bunch of them, right? You can go live in Dubai. You can go live in, and a lot of people I know live in Dubai now. You can go live in El Salvador. You can live in a low tax environment like Switzerland, where they're just going to negotiate the tax with you every year. I love the U.S. I'm not going to leave, but if we get into extended Kamala, I might leave. Who knows? Be painful, but I might do it. But a lot of people don't have the choice. So, but I do take the point that BTC is supposed to be the exit from the system. And the best way you can at least have the option to do that is to self-custody. If you self-custody and you don't sell your Bitcoin, you don't owe any taxes, you're good. You're not, and you retain the optionality of easily leaving. If you put it in the ETF, the problem is that you've got to sell the Bitcoin, pay taxes. You're in the system, right? So Daniel Race, and it costs $1 million to move to El Salvador. Yeah, I remember that they did have that to move there full time. It's $1 million. To be a resident, I'm not sure if it's a resident or citizenship. There's services out there. I know people have changed their residence, their nationality from the U.S., and I know it's much more difficult right now. So, money's not everything. So, but I do think that, and let's just keep our fingers crossed, because we may be in a positive tax and positive crypto regime, hopefully. And yeah, next Fed rate cut, November 6th. Right, that's the other thing. Let's not forget, we've got another rate cut coming. The ADT numbers were a little bit bigger today, so maybe 25 basis points. But it may be 50. It probably will be 50. Thailand. Yeah, Thailand. My friend Stephen Paranode lives in Thailand. He's a Bitcoiner, so I'm sure he chose that regime carefully. I have to see if he is an American living in Thailand or if he become Thai. I don't know. America has this worldwide jurisdiction on your stuff. So even if you might be living in Thailand and you start selling a lot of your Bitcoin, in theory, you could be, you could have a tax liability in the U.S. And this is not something that they take lightly. So, they threw Al Capone in jail for not paying his taxes. So I wouldn't mess around with that personally. Trump's Bitcoin reserve proposal. Here, I don't think Trump really understands Bitcoin, but I think the people around Trump understand Bitcoin. I think Vivek totally understands Bitcoin. I think JD understands Bitcoin, and I think RFK understands Bitcoin. So I think he's got a great a great set of people around him, and I'm very optimistic that. And he keeps on talking about this, which is also very good to me. He's like, I heard him say that the other day, that this might help us solve the debt. So the fact that it's kind of on his mind is very good to me. So I love that. I love that aspect of this recession, price of Bitcoin. I'm not concerned about a recession impacting Bitcoin. So what is the scenario there? The scenario is recession comes in, we get some form of, we possibly get stagflation, but we get a fall in U.S. stocks, and there's a fleeing of risk assets in general, and Bitcoin just gets trampled as we have this recession. I don't think that that's really going to happen right now. I think more likely they'll just cut rates to 2%, and we'll have a little mini boom. It's kind of my view. Hey, Brent. That's kind of what I think is going to happen. I think in general, interest rates are going lower, and that's all you need to know, right? So, we are going to be at 3%. We're going to have a 3% handle on our interest rates in 6 months. And there's $6 trillion in money market funds right now. We are in this beginning of this really big liquidity cycle. And so I think the liquidity is, Michael Howell from Cross Border had made this very clear. Liquidity is what drives short-term moves. We're going to a very positive liquidity cycle here. This liquidity cycle should end at the end of next year. Do not fight the Fed. Do not fight the global money printers. This thing is going to be very, very good for Bitcoin. So, also good for gold, right? But no reason to own gold here. I think you can just own. And I asked Michael this. I said, listen, if these things are so correlated, but Bitcoin performs better, and I get a little confused onto his metrics, but basically he sort of said that if there's I think it's a 1% move, but I'm not sure, or 10% move in his liquidity index, then gold will move by 10%, and Bitcoin will move by 40%. So it's 4 to 1, in these really big liquidity moves. But I want to be in Bitcoin. I want to be in the one that's going to move the most. So I think this next stuff's going to be. Do I want to bet on 70K? Well, I think you should give me a little bit better odds right now. I would bet. I do think we're going to get to 70K. But I think if you want to put the money down, give me a little. Make me a proposition, Andrew. If you're really serious. Wanting to bet by 70K. But I would bet that we're going to hit 70K with the election. I'm not super strong. I would say overall, I bet. I don't think it's going to be like super easy, but I think we're going to get there. We got the whole month of October, and I feel like if you're coming into the election and the polls have changed a little bit, and I don't think people are going to want to be short into this election. I think they're going to start defensively allocating some money to the probability that Trump will win, because I think Trump wins, Bitcoin goes up a lot. And while I don't think it's a stochastic process, you can't. It's not a deterministic process. There's some chance that Kamala wins, a very good chance, right? But in the 50% chance that Trump wins, in that branch of the probability tree, Bitcoin's going well over 100,000 very quickly. So do you want to not be involved for that? No, I think you kind of have to. Larry Funk says 83% chance. Okay. Doesn't matter what the price of Bitcoin is if you're playing it. Well, it does matter what the price of Bitcoin is, because I think the price of Bitcoin is your KPI. That's how well Bitcoin's doing. So I think that's how we keep score, right? That's how we keep score. And yeah, I don't think it matters whether Bitcoin's at 60,000 or 80,000 or 70,000, but I do think it will matter when Bitcoin's at 300,000 or a million. So, the BSV guy, he's probably not going to show up when Bitcoin's at 300,000. He won't be in the, you weren't going to see those guys. Those kind of guys just disappear, So, that's about it. All right, guys, let's see where we end up today. And again, thanks a lot. If you're going to come to Bitcoin First, we'll say hi. You can meet a bunch of these other degenerates like Puncher and a bunch of other guys. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Look forward to hanging out with you guys. And also, by the way, the book that I promised I would be done by the end of September, but it will be done by the end of October, and it will be. I think we're going to have the book available to pick up at the event. So I will hit you up, and then I will know this week probably, because it's being bound now. It's all printed and it's being bound in Arizona. And I think Ben Segman and I are just going to go to Arizona just to look at it and sort of see the first copies bound. It's kind of an interesting process. So I may fly to Phoenix and then check out this book binding place. But